You'll never see this on the fake news. Oh, Schumer, Senate will try to pass border bill. No, they won't.
Schumer says this legislation
Look at this.
will
Look at all these
stand
men.
alone. The Border Act failed earlier this year when a group of Republicans withdrew
fix your
their
own
support
country.
after President Trump encouraged them to kill it. Joining us now, Chad Wolf, Executive Director of the America First Policy Institute and former Acting Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security from 2019 to 2021. Thank you and welcome back. I want to just touch on what Jorge was talking about a moment ago, and that is gang members crossing the border. How big of an issue has this become?
Well, I think it's a huge issue. It's not only the gotaways, but again, along that border every single day, you have these types of public safety threats, the criminals and others, and your guest is exactly right. They embed them in the overall flow. They embed themselves in the overall flow of what's coming across that border. I was in Yuma, Arizona over the weekend, and when talking to local public safety officials, local sheriff down there, they said they have never seen the number of individuals and the types of individuals coming across that border as they have over the last 3 years.
Criminals.
And it's not stopping for them. And it's taxing that community there in Yuma, Arizona. So the crisis that we've been talking about over the last 3 years continues to this day, and it's being felt very largely by those border communities.
So the Senate will take up this issue once again, get a second look. It won't be tied to international aid
Senate's
for
not
Ukraine
gonna do
and
nothing.
Israel. Does this have a better shot at getting
secure the
through and
border.
getting to the border?
Well, I don't think it does. I mean, it was opposed bipartisan. We had members on both sides of the aisles who did not like this bill the first time around. I don't believe that they have changed any of the bill, and so it's going to be a repeat performance of the last time. And I think it's important to remember that the House passed H.R. 2, which was a border security bill, over 10 months ago. It has been sitting on Senator Schumer's desk for 10 months. And so if they wanted to solve border security, if they wanted to really address the crisis, it could have been done 10 months ago. Instead, they're going to talk about a Senate bill, whereas H.R. 2 was a border security bill. The Senate bill is a migrant facilitation bill.
Yes,
And that makes sense, right? Because what we've seen is the strategy over the last 3 years is how do you process these individuals in the country as quickly as possible in that catch and release policy that we've talked about. So I think there are two different versions on how you secure that border, and I think this vote will end up very similar to the last vote.
Right. So likelihood of anything getting done between now and November, where would you put that?
Well, coming from Congress, probably pretty low, but that doesn't mean that you can't solve the crisis. It's important to remember that President Biden and Secretary Mayorkas have all the authority that they need to do. They have today to secure that border, regardless of what Congress does or what they pass. They have the ability to bring this crisis, or at least get it under control. They can't close it, but they can get it under control.
Why can't they close it? We need to close the borders now.
They have the ability. They don't need Congress to act, and they haven't been doing it now for 3 years. But what you are hearing now, 3.5 years into this crisis, you're starting to hear that President Biden may take some executive action, which is another way of saying he had the ability to do it all along. And so for 3.5 years, we've watched this crisis unfold and affect Americans every single day. I'm not sure why the administration is waiting to take action.
And that action, at least one option, would be if crossings reach 4,000 or more to shut down the border. You and I have spoken about that before. Logistically, what does that look like?
Well, sort of practically how that would look like is once a threshold is met, the ability to turn back or to remove individuals and illegal aliens as they come across that border becomes a little bit easier. But what I would tell you is why is 4,000 the magic number? We're actually going to allow 4,000 migrants to come across that border each and every day. That's 1.5 million in any given year. That is an astronomically high number. What the Biden administration is doing is they're resetting the amount or the floor of the individuals that should be allowed into the country. We should never be at 4,000 a day. And so I don't agree with that type of threshold or that type of trigger. It's arbitrarily set, and my guess is it will be enjoined in a court of law shortly after it's instituted.
Always appreciate your time and perspective. Chad Wolf, thanks.
We should be at 0 crossings a day. People need to fix their own country.